Cool. Well, welcome everyone. I'm Isaac. If you don't know this already, I'm out of Ohio, and this is one of those topics that definitely are super exciting. So I'm sure this is you right now, as we talk about file management as photographers and creatives, and super excited to figure it out. Right. So I want to kind of go through why it would be important, why it's important to have a system. We want to help obviously prevent clients from falling through cracks, and that's easy to do when we have just a messy filing cabinet, aka, folder structure. But then it allows for efficiency in a workflow, which is what I'm going to really dive into and show you guys what I mean by that. And then creating redundancies to minimize mistakes. I'll show you what I mean by that too, when it comes to like raw files as well as final files. There's some really cool stuff that I like to do to make sure there's some redundancy. And then building scalability. I won't talk too much about that part, but what I mean when I say scalability is like, say you want to bring on someone else to work with you, or maybe you already have a team. This could be a as simple as like a spouse or loved one that works with you, a child that, one of your kids that works with you, but being able to scale in the sense where everything doesn't live just right in your brain. We want to kind of build a system that can be simple, that if someone were to just pick up where we left off, we can kind of scale in that way. So, like I said, I'm not going to touch too much. I'm not going to touch too much on scalability, just more of these other kind of main points. So before we kind of dive into it, I definitely want to lay it out and say that, my way is definitely obviously not the only way. And quite honestly, my way is coming from a culmination of just a bunch of other people's ways. So that's how we learn, that's how we grow. And so what I'm going to share with you, what I really want you guys to take from this is one way that Isaac's doing it. And me as the photographer, me as my own person, my own business, this is how I can take it and maybe pull a few pieces and things out of it. And so that's kind of what I want to just lay as our foundation before we get started here, is that, my way is definitely not the only way. And quite honestly, this is very much meant to be an open forum. And so if you guys want to challenge me in anything, or if you guys want to suggest anything that I can do better, then I will gladly accept any other thoughts. Or if you guys are like, hey, that's cool, and this other idea. So please know that this is meant to be open discussion. I do have structure that I'll share, but definitely open discussion, questions and stuff like that. So let's do this. Let's go through just a really kind of like, what is it, the 10,000 or the cliffside view? What's that? I forget the phrase that's like 10,000 feet high. I'm really smart. Anyway, the overview. So what when we are talking about folders and files, um essentially I look at all my files, when we're talking photos. So let me actually back up a little bit. I am going to approach this from just talking photo management, photo file management. So when I'm looking at files, I look at them in two main categories. I've got my raw files, and then I have my final files, right? The final deliverables, the edited, the sorted, all that stuff. That's how I like to look at my folder file system. And then where it just starts getting kind of more in depth from that point, and I'll tell you this, if you want to screenshot anything, if you guys are on a phone or computer and you want to screenshot something, I'll say there's about 4 slides of this till I would recommend screenshotting. So from the final point, I break down into years. I've been in business for 11 years, and so this allows me to easily remember that that one client that I had this one year, or that one event I did this year, and it keeps things really kind of minimized, to where I'm not just looking at this massive catalog of client work. Um, when I when I first started 11 years ago, it was definitely, the years started stacking on each other. So the years started getting more and more clients, and it was harder and harder to find. And then I launched within, I don't know, 4 or 5 years of starting my business initially, where I was just seniors. I launched and I did some sports and schools and stuff like that. And then we actually launched a boudoir brand at one point, and all these files and folders just started getting crazy. So this is where we're starting, where it's just by the year, and everything you're going to see on this little overflow or this little chart, it's all copied to both raw and finals. I treat them both the same, and I'll show you more about that. But from there, by year, I divide by genre. So I have multiple genres in my business now. There's more than just these three, but it gives you an idea. By year, I then go, okay, here's my seniors, here's my families, here's my corporate. We also do, just to give you a couple more, we also do like headshots, and we do, I have a newborn photographer that works for me. So we've got all these genres, and I want to break it down into that. So then if a senior client is reaching out to me, I know exactly where to go to find their photos. And I'm not looking through this, again, massive catalog. So then the final last layer of all of this is the client name. That's pretty simple, right? Just finally ending with that inside each genre, dividing by client. So this is kind of the moment to definitely screenshot. But yeah, that's kind of, again, the overview. If we're looking at just my raw files, my final files, this is how they are divided. And this, again, will allow me to just kind of weave through and find the things I need to find, because it's crazy. Quick quick side story. I don't do weddings anymore, but when I used to do weddings, I had a client from, it was 5 years back. They lost their files. No, this is even better. They lost their CD. And so they reached out and they're like, Isaac, do you have our CD? Do you have the digitals you can get us on our CD again? I said, yes, but I'll get you a floppy disk instead. No, I said, yeah, absolutely. And this made it so much easier to go to the year they were married, go to my wedding folder, and then find that client within just minutes. It was not difficult at all to find that client. So this is, again, the overview. But of course, this is just where we get started, right? This is not the end, and this is not the only way we sort. Because from that point, where I struggled was, okay, so we have the starting point of importing files. We have the raw files coming in, and then we have the final delivery and all the pieces in between. This is where things can get messy, and this is where we want to make sure that, with my studio, that I'm making sure I understand what were my clients' favorites, what images specifically did my clients order, without having to pull up notes. I want to see all this stuff inside my file system. So this is kind of where I want to take you guys, is more of this in depth. Um, and Mindy, if Mindy or Gretchen or Jody, if one of you guys could just watch the chat, make sure to stop me if you see some kind of question come up. But guys, feel free to use the chat in between if you don't want to speak up over
There was
microphone.
a question,
Yeah.
Isaac. So Andrew he says, my apologize if I missed where you store your final folder before you start breaking it out into other folders. Is it on Google Drive, Dropbox, external hard drives? Where do
Yeah.
you store?
So I actually kept that out of this conversation. I'll share with you guys. I use a NAS drive, network attached storage to my studio network, and then that's backed up to cloud storage. So like I've got that stuff, and that's a whole topic on its own. This is definitely meant to be kind of like, once you figure out how you're storing, whether definitely do external hard drives, definitely have backups, all that good stuff. Once you get that stuff figured out, then this is where this conversation is starting. Now, our root folders. And I'll tell you guys this, this is technical and I know it. I'm going to screen share and actually show you my real folders, and show you, here's the look, here's how the sausage gets made. It may be embarrassing at some points to show you some things, but I'm going to do it because it helps us all grow. So yeah, good question, Andrew. And definitely something that this conversation is starting after you've figured out where exactly you're storing your folders. I highly recommend NAS drives, but we can send me an email if you want to talk more about that. So from import to delivery, the big thing with this is, or what it's going to be, what I'm going to break this list down to is, from the very start. So I'm importing raw images into a raw folder. So let me actually go back. Let me go back to this one. I'm importing into that left folder, that raw folder. So then from that point, I'm going to skip around. I apologize. I didn't map this out. Oh no. Oh no. I'm getting ahead of myself. There we go. All right. So importing raw files into the corresponding year, genre, that whole overflow chart I just showed you guys. That's where I'm importing first. I'm categorizing it and putting it in the right folder. And then I'm going through and I'm culling and I'm editing it. For those that want to have the conversation after this, I do AI editing, which is kind of fun, and AI culling. So I do all that stuff on the front end. But then this is where I start to, maybe some of you here do this already, but this is something I just started doing maybe 2 years ago, and it has made such a big difference. And that's number three. I'm renaming raw files. So renaming raw files, I'm able to then know the final images I have, I can find those raw images super easily. So in case, just to give you like a really quick tutorial of how to do this, if you're using Lightroom, this is what we use. So we use Lightroom in the library module at the top. Select your final images, all those images you culled, you're ready before you're ready to show client. You go to library and you just select all your images and then rename. And from that point, it's really simple. It's really simple. This is how we do it. We select all the images, and then we hit rename, and then I just put in the sequence. I put in client last name followed by client first name. Right there, we know who's the photo, who's in the photo, and then that sequence. What this is doing, it's putting everything in one nice consecutive like chain, but then also it's getting rid of all those file names, all the whatever your camera file naming structure is. It gets rid of that and keeps it clean on the raws, so on the raw files. So then you're going to be way better off later, and that's kind of what I break down here. So we have consistency in the raw folder that matches the final folder after, once we export, once we get those photos out of Lightroom, and it acts as a failsafe. So like if that final image, I've done this before, show of hands if anyone else is in this boat. We're showing these final images to a client and we're like, oof, rough. I need to go back and fix that raw file. Like maybe the shadows or the highlights, or maybe there's something that, we need to go back to that raw file. It's happened rarely for me, but it has happened. And before I was doing this part of my sequence where I'm renaming raw files, um, I got into the thing where I was like, okay, I have my final image, which is named beautifully with the client's name and stuff. Now I got to go find that weirdly named file that's named by my camera. And I'm looking at the images, comparing back and forth. Is this the right one? I don't know. And it added to my time and effort of trying to just make it smoother. And so this was huge, renaming the raw files, because it matches on both sides. From that point, once we're done, we're past editing, we've renamed, and now we're exporting out of our raw folder essentially into the final. So again, I'm going through Lightroom here to show you guys. And please, again, if you're taking notes or screenshotting, please feel free. Also, happy to email you guys these slides afterwards. So hit me up if you want the slides. Go ahead, Mindy. Sorry, you're muted.
We have a question from Gretchen. She asks, do you keep all of the raw folders in a single, for all the clients, no matter what they are or what genre? Do you
No,
keep a single folder?
that's not what I asked. I was wondering if when you rename them, it sounds like it's a smaller selection than all of the raw files. Do you keep them in the same folder as the ones you don't rename?
Yeah, so I don't do more sorting once we're renaming. So actually here, let me see if I can share with you guys. Let me try to find a good folder for you. Um, so for those that aren't following, once I'm culling and editing these photos and then I'm renaming the culled edited photos, I don't delete the other images yet. I hang on to other images just in case. So let me see here if I have. So what I'm looking for right now, I'm looking for a client that has both. Yeah. So let me share this. Can you guys can see that file folder system going on? Okay. So what you're seeing here, what you're looking at on the screen, this is my raw folder. You can see on the very left, there's seniors, there's my genre, and then I've next folder is clients, And then what we're looking at, these are all the raw files. So this is a client from last year. So all the images you see with the funky file name in here, all of those are the quote unquote like uncold images. They're images that I'm hanging on to for now. I will delete them later on to clear up space and clear up, storage and all that good stuff. But look in here, you see all these ones that end with DNG. Those are the raw images that I kept. So I kept up to 99 with this client, and we've got them all right there. So that's how I'm hanging on to raws, cold and uncold. And I will later go back. What's really nice about renaming raw files, I can so easily go back and just quickly delete all of these raws that I don't need anymore. So that's huge and a great functionality or bonus to that structure.
Thanks.
Yep. So this is kind of I'm going to show you guys a little tip with exporting from Lightroom. This is kind of cool. So taking advantage of these export presets, what this window you're seeing here, this is when you go to export from Lightroom. Like literally you select all those final images, you've renamed them, you've edited them, they're good to go. You go to export them. They're on this left side where I have the red box. That is these presets, which you predetermine. You tell Lightroom, this is what I want my presets to be. If you're only using one export type, like maybe you just export all the images as a singular like high res JPEG or something. Presets are still great. It's still one way to kind of speed that up. But in my process, we export 2 versions. So this is one of those screenshot moments here. My high res preset, it's nothing fancy. Essentially, we keep the quality at 100, we keep resolution at 300. It's just the highest quality my camera can produce for the sake of obviously printing the photos and making sure I'm not compressing and also just archiving the highest quality. That's pretty standard. Nothing fancy here. Where it gets fancy is when I'm doing that second kind of export on the web res. There's a few things in here. And so like, again, feel free to screenshot, but essentially just jumping down to my reason behind that. I'm creating a lower resolution file that's perfect for like sharing on social media and websites, allowing it to kind of crush it on my end to make make a small file version. So that then when I'm either sharing it with clients or I'm posting it myself, I have this other version of a file. And it's really cool because jumping ahead here to when I'm exporting these two versions, you're batch exporting. It's really cool because you can tell both versions to go to that client folder at the top. That's what I'm highlighting at the top. And then you can tell them to go to subfolders. So I actually make it go to the high res, go to the high res, and the web res, go to the web res. So it's kind of keeping it nice and separated for me. And let me share a final folder for you really quick here. So you can kind of see, let's see here. You're going to see a few more folders that I'm not going to touch on right now, but are really great. Let's see. So all I want you to pay attention to are these 2 folders here. So if you can see that high res, web res, right? So it's great because then inside of there, I've got these web resolution images. And if you can see here, it's half a megabyte. So it's a nicely compressed image that if I were to post this on Facebook, post this on Instagram, it looks great. And I just I pulled some of that preset. I pulled this preset, which again, if you didn't get a chance to screenshot it, I pulled some of this preset from other people that were doing it, people that were smarter than me. We kind of figured out what looks good on social media, what looks good on websites. And pro tip, your website speed, how fast it loads, Google really likes it when it loads fast. My good friend Andrew is in the chat here in the group here, and he actually has a marketing company. He used to work for me in my studio, and he's one of the biggest reasons my studio is ranking for like the state of Ohio. But this is one of those reasons, fast loading websites. So a little plug for you, Andrew. So with all that, this is probably what you're saying to me right now. You're probably like, wow, that was a little much, nerd. But it's all important stuff. This is all good stuff. And the thing about it, going back to it, this is my system. You can take the pieces from it, or you can copy and paste it. So moving from there, this is one of my favorite parts in the entire process is the in-person sales session. I'm sure we've got people in here that don't do in-person sales. I'm sure we've got a mix of people that do and don't. But this could be, if you're a gallery delivering photographer, if you just give your photos, over a gallery or Dropbox or something, this is that part. It's just delivering to the client. For me, with IPS, we take it we take it even further. We do more sorting, with our clients during IPS sessions. We have them rate their images 1 through 4 stars, and we sort them. So you can see this folder here. This is in a high res folder where, with my client, they sorted their images, and then it immediately got reflected on the back end of my folder. I know if I'm ever trying to find this client's folder, I know exactly which ones they loved because they sat there and I sorted it in that way. So it's super helpful because then I'm not, if maybe I want to give them a gift or something. And like, I didn't do this, but I contemplated, and then budget told me otherwise. I contemplated and creating ornaments for my clients, right? This is a big thing some of the labs will push to as marketing to us photographers. They'd be like, hey, get your clients a cool gift. And I contemplated it. I'm like, oh, that'd be kind of fun. I can go and create custom ornaments for all my clients. And then budget told me, no, don't do that. You're dumb. You have children at home that you need to feed. And you have senior clients. Like, senior clients are going to be like, oh, that's weird, my face on an ornament. So I decided not to. But where I'm going with that is I could have easily gone to my folder, found my client's favorites, and just so easily picked one from there. And that's how I like to sort when I'm doing in-person sales sessions. But from there, this is a part where it goes another layer that this is new for me, and I'm really excited about it. And sorry, really quick, Gretchen, you asked, how do you move the images into 1 star, 2 star? Yeah, so I use, I don't know if anyone else does in-person sales here. I know there's a few here, but I use a software called Enview. It's a web-based in-person sales software. And basically what it does when I sit with my client, it allows me to sort with them pretty easily. ProSelect does the same thing. Lightroom and Adobe Bridge, you can actually do some really cool star ratings and stuff. And it's pretty manual. Just saying, like, here's all my file numbers that are 4 stars. And then I go through and I just manually select them. It's tedious, but I'm talking, it takes not even 4 to 5 minutes to sort all my images. And my 4-star rating system, I have changed this. You can do 5-star, you can do yes, no, you can do yes, no, maybe. There's a ton of ways to really make it yours. This is just mine, right? It adds a little bit of work to my end. It adds a little more time for sorting, but it's how I do it. And there's a ton of ways. And that's what's beautiful about this process. So tagging, what that means. Tags, again, this is new. I showed a couple people here this just, I think, last month. And it's a new thing. I think last year or two, just started doing it. So what is a tag? This is a Mac screenshot. So in your Finder, you can go to your settings and you can find this little beautiful thing called tags. And what you can predetermine these. I think Mac automatically has, like, they just have color names. It just says like blue, orange, red, or whatever. You can create your custom ones. You can create custom ones that say different things. So if you can see here in this little screenshot, I've got one that says, app, prints, album, yearbook. Those are things I determine. Those are things, when I'm selling to clients. Wall art, meaning like canvases and medals, I just call it prints, same category as like 5x7s, 8x10s. That's the same stuff. Like I kind of just call it prints, right? We sell a lot of albums, and one thing with our studio, the way we do albums, we let the clients pick the images that go in the album. We don't proof it with them. So we let them pick the images, and we're ready to go, and we can build albums. But these tags, well, and really quick, actually, if you're on Windows, this is how you get to tags. You just Google it. So I have no idea. I know tags are a thing on Windows. I looked this up before I put this together. I'm a Mac person. I didn't want to just give you guys overload. I don't know how many people here are on Mac, but you can find tags on Windows. Just Google it. You'll find it. So this is what tags look like in the folder. You'll see this client here. There are two tags. You'll see album and prints. And so it's super helpful because from there I can just see I can see from there what images do I need to edit, right? So in my process, one thing I kind of skipped over, we do a kind of a base edit, which is just like color, and we add like our Lightroom preset, and that's what the clients see. We don't fix flyaways, we don't fix skin blemishes on the first pass, on the pass that we're showing them. And then when they're placing their order, I'm only doing the final retouches on their ordered images. So this tagging lets me then just easily see, what images do I need to edit? I don't need to pull up like an order form. I don't need to pull up my online system, my online gallery, and kind of reference. I can just look at my Finder window and they're tagged. So there is a way you can make sure you can see these tags and sort by them and all that good stuff. So it's great. It's great. And this is
Dude,
new.
that is really, 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 it's got such huge time savings right
Yep.
there, dude. That's really awesome. Good job.
Yep. And one thing, here's another thing. Again, I didn't put this in my little slide deck here. The way we do prints, when clients order prints with us, we basically will give complimentary 5x7 digitals to that client. So here's the potential, and here's why this is relevant. The 5x7 digitals are any image they ordered. So if they ordered an 8x10, if they ordered, an album with 20 images, I have all those tagged with prints and album, and I know immediately which ones I need to go then re-export as a literal 5x7. We go through Lightroom, we just export them as 5x7s, and the client gets a 5x7 digital. And I'm not giving them the full res. I'm not giving them web res even. I'm giving them something in between, right? This allows me, doing this tagging allows me to so easily just go, what images did my client order? Okay, here's the images. So easy. Grab, export. It's making, this has been, again, a new thing that I've been loving so much because it's a thing that's been built into Mac and Windows for so long. And I don't know, I recently kind of stumbled on it and it was like, I'm going to start using this. And it's been such a game changer. So Andrew asked in the chat, he said, anything they order within their album also gets the 5x7 digital, and can they print with that release? So yes, that's how I do it in my studio. Prints and albums, every image ordered. And we price our albums in a way that basically if they were to buy 20 8x10s, it's almost the same price as buying an album with 20 images, if that makes sense. So we're selling images on a per image basis, regardless if it goes in an album or print. And so it's really, really kind of cool. And I will give credit where it's due. I'm not saying that Jody and Mindy do this the same way in their studio, but I pulled inspiration from these two wonderful ladies. And so they may do stuff differently. And I think an IPS Biz Bites would be really great. Because this is kind of getting into that, which is really good stuff. So yeah, I love
Thank you,
talking
guys.
about IPS. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then complete the final retouch on all those tagged images. This is kind of just repeating myself a little bit. All those tagged images, I know which ones need we do the skin retouching, we do the flyaways, I do what's it called? Frequency separation, all that good stuff. We do that on the tagged images. It makes it so much easier to just look at my folder. I know it needs edited, good to go. And then the fun part, sending off all the images for printing. And you finally made it. So that's again, like I said, there's all those elements and pieces to this that can be really catered towards your system. And maybe you saw some of this stuff and you were like, that's whack, like not me, that's cool too, because looking at this overview again, just pulling this for those that maybe came in a little later, this is what I showed at the beginning. This is where it all starts, this kind of overarching, system that then we can get into that really nerdy stuff, that really kind of like fine tuning our sorting and our process, because that's where, it's so helpful. I'll be straight with you guys. This is something that I prioritize because I also want to. This is something I've even told Andrew when he was working for me. If I were to die tomorrow, I would love for my files to be released to my clients. And I would like to make that process very easy for someone to handle, whether that be my wife or maybe Andrew gets to come back to my studio and help my wife with that. But whatever the case, like I want that to happen upon my death. And that's a morbid thing to talk about. That's like, wow, that's really doom and gloom, but that's something I want to do. And so like building a really organized file system, being able to like structure it in a way that makes that simple for that process. It's definitely something I want and prioritize in my business. So, what are there any other questions you guys have, or even if someone has suggestions, whether you want to drop in the chat or bring in, turn on your microphone. What questions might you have on this stuff? Oh, so Gretchen said in the chat she started making separate Lightroom catalogs for each session. And I agree with that. That's definitely something I would want to do, but I'm too disorganized for that in that sense. But I will tell you what I do. Let me actually show you guys a final folder. This means when I'm saying final folder, a delivered client folder. So this is, let's see here. I've got so many windows open. This is obnoxious. Here we go. Actually, I'll tell you what. I'm going to share my entire desktop. That's going to make my life so much easier. Let me move some things out of here. Okay, can you guys see that desktop okay? Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
So all I want to show you, so I mentioned digital 5x7s. So this is another export that I do, and it's on all the ordered images, right? So you see my initial, these are the two folders, first folders that happen. But then from that point, we kind of start taking it further. This is something I didn't show again, but right here, this is a final Lightroom catalog. What that is, if I go back to my main Lightroom catalog I'm using, you'll see, let me actually, again, wasn't planned, so don't mind the chaos here for a second. Oh, this is going to be fun. This is like roulette. What catalog is going to open right away? Oh, good. It opened on my other desktop. Nope, it's a good one. All right. So on this, so let's pretend for a second. Let's pretend this session I have up. Let's go grid. Let's pretend this is a final session. Like this is all the final images. When I'm kind of like finishing out a client, they've already ordered their images. They're done. We're done kind of working together, but I don't want to completely erase all the edits. And I also don't want to live in here. Look on the left side. If it's, I know it's probably small on some of your screens, but look on the left side here. I've got multiple years in here. This is probably like 100 gigabyte catalog. It is the dumbest way to do things. Don't do things the way I do them here in this regard. But oh gosh, now I lost my spot. Let's, here, we'll go to this headshot session. We'll pretend this is the final thing. This is so easy. Let's pretend we're only looking at those final edited images. I just go and export as catalog. And right there, I'm getting all the final edits. If I need to re-edit something, I don't need to go find them in my Lightroom catalog. I have a final catalog of them. So it's so easy to find those raws again without having to hunt, without having to dig through my mess of a Lightroom catalog. And that's my final step essentially. On top of this digital 5x7s, I do use Animoto, which is actually what's right here. So Andrew asked about that. I put a video together there in a slideshow. So that's in their folder. Sometimes my clients get that. Sometimes they don't. It's just depending on their packages. But we would create one for the in-person sales session. So again, it's all living right here in this final folder. I wanted to mention, so I had a family session. I had a family session here that this actually happened during a senior session. So for my brain to operate correctly, even though all my photos were from the same session, quote unquote, like it was the family of the senior, I wanted to be able to kind of point them to each other. So this is another cool tip. If I keep this family session here, I have the senior right here. Here's what I want you guys to notice. This little thing right here. This is called an alias, and Windows calls it, I think, just a shortcut, I believe. So what this is, I can click it, and it jumps right into that same exact folder. It's the same folder. These two are the same folder. So it's kind of cool because it's referencing like, hey, there's the family pictures. And I could do the same, actually. I'm going to show you guys really quick. Make an alias of this kid. And here it is. This is his senior session. So family. Here's a senior, which renaming this, it's not going to change anything on the senior photo, but or the senior folder. And right there, now I have it linked. So it's linked to where that family is related to that senior. And I can jump so easily between them because maybe I know for a fact, actually, this mom, she ordered like a big family photo, and then she ordered like a couple senior photos, or it was vice versa. I can't remember, but it was a mix of those things. Again, for my brain to operate the way it needed to, I needed those two sessions to be in separate places, so that I can reference family photos, I can reference senior photos, but they're still connected. And so this is one way. I think on Windows, again, if there's anyone here, it's going to be called like shortcut or something. Mac calls it an alias. So it's kind of a really cool little bonus thing there, that you can do. Robert asks, what's your recommendation to set up a NAS drive and start fresh to organize multiple years? Honestly, Robert, it is a task. So I'm actually going to show you. I'm going to back out. So if you can see the top window here, I'm scrolling on. This is my NAS drive right here. So Coffee Creations at the very top. And I apologize, guys, if this is small on your screens, but the photo folder is just one piece of my NAS drive. And it's a mess beyond this level, but here is where it starts going. So as far as where to begin with sorting, it is just a process. Like what I did from the start, so you can see all my years here. What I did from the start is I just built these folders, and maybe inside of here, it looked like this. It looked like what's happening over here. Maybe that's how it started. But I just started building the folders and then just moving things where they needed to be. Because I can probably show you. Yeah, look at this. You guys can see, this is how I used to do file sorting. I would name it by month, day, year, which is the English American way to do things. But where this started getting muddy is actually when I moved into year 2. And then just imagine this, it said like 01, 04, 16, and then it was 01, 11, 17. Because of this whole system, it immediately started like failing me because it made it like just a huge folder full of all years and months were mixed in. And so I never went through and renamed these folders. I just kind of put them all into a 2016 folder, because in reality, look, there's my 2017 folder. You can see all these were together in one place, and it made it so messy. And yeah, so Jody said she can store about 2.5 years on her NAS. Yeah, the one thing you'll see, like my RAWs only go back to 2019. I don't have a system yet or a policy yet on like how long I hold on to raw files. But it's insane, like, because my raw files, it's not even going to calculate it for me, actually. My raw files are terabytes of information. So I try to go through and I keep a couple years back, but my final folders we have as far back as 2016. And I have other hard drives that go back as far as 2013, 2012. But this is just my NAS drive. So yeah. Yeah, hopefully this has been helpful for you guys. I know, like I said, I know this is a big topic. It's not a exciting, sexy topic. It's very much just one of those necessary evils that we really need as photographers, if we want to be successful and be able to find things easily. Because like it can be stressful. I get it. I know it can be a lot. But that's one of those things that, like, if we set ourselves up for success on this end, we can focus and not be stressed about it on the other end of creating and taking photos and all that good stuff. And so, yeah. So please, if there's any other questions, ask, but I want to show you guys just really quick. If anyone is here, I feel like we got a good amount of people here. But what exactly what the heck One Collective is, in case you're wondering. Maybe you're here because you were at one of my talks at Shutterfest or another conference, or we just connected some way. I'm part of this amazing group of people, One Collective. A lot of them are in this group here, actually in this call. And we get together and we do really cool photo shoots. You can see them here on our website. We're headed to Ireland in June. They just got back from New Orleans, just like yesterday or the day before. We did London. We do some really cool shoots together. And so this is not meant to be a sales pitch, but definitely if you want to check out One Collective, these Biz Bites things are one of those things that we're going to do monthly. And so I just want to show you there's a whole lot more stuff that we're doing that's really cool. Lisa, you asked, how long after your session do you have your client come back for IPS? That's one of those things that that's one of those things where I very much am trying to do. This is going to sound crazy to some of you. I am trying to have people come back as soon as 15 minutes. We had a boudoir session or boudoir brand years back. We have shut it down since for reasons I can share over DM maybe. But one of the things we did was we had people come back within an hour and they could see their images right away. And it really was, we were able to kind of like sell on kind of the high of, they just had the session, they had a wonderful experience, a really fun time. And now they can purchase their images right there. And so that's something we're trying to do. But to tell you where we're at now, we have them come back within just a few days. So a few days gives me the chance to import and cull and all that good stuff, and go from there. We are trying to, the same day thing, for those that are curious, the same day thing. We're trying to explore ideas on like, we're first starting with our newborns. So our newborns, we have a separate photographer for that. And so she's shooting and then I'm calling immediately as soon as she's done so that the clients don't have to schedule coming in and out with a newborn baby. We want them to be able to just schedule a block of time where they do their shoot and they get to order their photos. And so we're kind of beta testing some things there and we'll see how we can take it from there to the seniors. Good questions though. Really great questions.
Isaac, I had a
Uh,
question about your senior videos. How does that work with the turnaround time on the video production?
We haven't started that yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Senior videos are something that Jody and Mindy are doing really well. So check out their website to see some of the cool stuff they're doing. But that's something we're going to be launching into hopefully this year. I mean, I've been talking about it for years. They've been doing it for a
Okay.
while. And yeah, I haven't officially launched into that.
I
Any other
tried the same day. I tried the same day sales for seniors a long time ago, and I found that they put so much energy like into their photo shoot and the planning and all of that, that by the time the session is done, they're completely wiped out.
Yeah.
And so, but maybe you'll find a better trick to it. I don't know.
Maybe if we don't have 5-hour sessions like you guys. No, I'm kidding. No,
3 is our
Try to
max.
max it
I'm
out
just
at
kidding. I'm just
4,
kidding.
but
No, I understand that. I see that too. And you're like, I don't want to like over fatigue them. And we just had a really great session. And now it's like, now make decisions, now give me more money. That's why it's a balance. That's why I'm beta testing it with newborns. We've dropped the idea to a few clients and they were like, that's really cool. We love that. Because the one thing is like with newborns specifically, the dads have like a week off of work and that's it. And typically they're not coming in until 4 or 5 days after baby's born, sometimes even longer. So we're trying to like maximize when dad's available because otherwise it just gets messy. So obviously seniors are different, but
Yeah.
it's something
I
we're
could see
figuring
that
out.
working with babies because,
Yeah.
the first couple weeks, that's when they're most sleepy and the easiest to deal with. So
Yep.
for sure, doing a
Yep.
order session.
Babies and headshots, that kind
Yep.
of thing.
Headshots we're tethering right into like an iPad and they're getting to see and pick right there. So it's
Mhm.
definitely a doable thing. It's just a matter of how you figure it out for yourself, your systems, and yeah, it's all good stuff. If
I think-
if anyone wants the slide deck from today, feel free to hit me up, email or DM, and then I'm happy to email it out. And then if anyone has questions or like if you're tackling this and you're like, yeah, I want to do this, I want to get organized, and you want like a second pair of eyes, I'm happy to help. I'm happy to jump on a call and kind of like walk through something with you if it helps. because it's daunting. It's definitely a daunting task, especially if you're starting from cluster. If you're starting from chaos and you're trying to like sort from there, I get it. I get it. That's a lot. It can be difficult, but having a system figured out first, just kind of map it out how you want to end up, how you want it to end up looking, and then taking it from there. It definitely huge. So yeah. Very
Also,
cool.
you've got your everything set up on the NAS drive, right? So maybe speaking a little bit, I mean, you're talking all about efficiency and whatnot, and so like swapping between or having stuff live on multiple different hard drives gets chaotic, and then but having it all on the NAS makes sense and saves your mind, and then you access stuff from home if you need to. If you happen to forget a drive, no big deal, you've got it. And then also just like your backup system beyond your NAS drive. So
Yeah.
if you do need to jump into anything, can you speak into that maybe?
Well, yeah, if people would like to hear it, which I will since Andrew asked, but this is okay. I'm going to be straight with you guys. This is one of those things that is like a big pet peeve of mine when I see photographers, and videographers are the worst at this. I'm just going to be straight. I've got some videographer friends and I see how they live their lives in their file sorting, and it's rough. Um so this, I'm trying to find an image here because I want to share with you guys. I'm going to try to give you like a really simple starting point with like NAS drives, because it's really stinking cool. If you're not doing this right now, you need to look into this, because basically what you're doing, not only are you building in a few fail safes for yourself, you're also building basically your own Google Drive, your own Dropbox, which is the coolest thing ever. Even to the point where like, this is getting super nerdy, and Andrew can talk to you about this if you want to email or DM him. You can build, if anyone here uses Google Photos, you can do that for yourself at your home. Like set up a NAS drive at your house that your phone automatically backs up photos from your phone to that NAS drive at your house. So there's just to give you like a little teaser. There's so much stuff you can do with this, and all the images I'm trying to show you are super nerdy. But I'll tell you, so I use Synology, and what that drive is, if I can find it. Here's just like a quick look at it. There is a bunch out there, so please know that just what I use isn't the only option out there. There's a ton, but I use this Synology. It's not specifically this version. Mine's a little bit bigger. But essentially what you're seeing here, these are each individual hard drive bays. So you can have basically all your data is split between all these drives. And what that does and what that allows for, number one, it allows you to have just a crap ton of terabytes of data. They have their limits. I forget, like this one, if I just jump really quick, let me see if it tells us. I don't know if they will tell us, but they have their limits of like how many max data and all that stuff it has. Yeah, I'm not going to find it fast. But what's really cool, so the way I have mine set up, and I don't want to get too nerdy with you guys because there's a ton of great YouTube videos out there on this. But you can essentially dedicate where if one drive fails, all of the rest of the data is split between the drives in a way that you can completely remove that hard drive out, replace it with a brand new one, and it will rebuild that hard drive because of the way I have structured mine. There's a bunch of other ways you can do this, but that's how I structured mine. And you can start as simple as like a Synology. There's like these two bay is what they're called. So let me just really quick show you this. It's not going to show me an open one. Okay. Inside of this, there are only 2 hard drives. This is how simple it can be. You put 2 hard drives in and you tell it, take this hard drive, copy it to this one. It's a direct mirrored copy. So one of these hard drives fail, you have a backup right there in person, in your office, in your home, whatever. You have a direct copy. This is how I started with NAS drives. I started really simple, just two bays, really simple. It's like an immediate thing you can do right now. They are not that expensive, $300. You know, it's a business expense. You got to buy the hard drives for it. So just know there's some other things, but it's a thing you can immediately back up and have that backup. I take it a step further from there, and I constantly have on my NAS drive, this NAS drive, basically, I have it cloud backing up 24/7. Well, not 24/7. I make it back up when I'm not in my office, when I'm not in my studio. You can set these parameters. You can get really nerdy with it, but I make it back up to a cloud storage system called Backblaze. And Backblaze, the way it works, it just runs in the background. I have this backing up my computer. So my computer is constantly backed up. If my computer crashes, they can send me a hard drive, but it's backing up my entire NAS drive. So if my studio burns down to the ground, my entire 36 terabytes is backed up to a place somewhere else that's not here. So it's, again, I know that was a lot. I apologize. Andrew just unleashed the Kraken there, because this whole topic is really stinking cool. Andrew, do you remember that one guy we found on YouTube? I sent him to Jody, I think to you. There is a resource I want to share with you if Andrew can help me remember it.
Yeah, let me look it up really quick for you.
And drop it in the chat if so. But yeah, there's a resource. This guy, I think he was a former photographer, but he is an IT person and basically breaks it down how it can be very easy. And he basically says, do these things, do these settings, and it makes it a lot easier to understand and comprehend. So it can be a lot, but it also doesn't have to be. So, yep.
Andrew, he had asked if you could access it online or like when you're out of your studio. And the answer to that is yes, although it's a little bit difficult. It's not like you can just save it in the file. You have to like download the file, then work on it, and then re-upload it. But there is a way, so my other sister, Shelly, lives in Dallas, and so she does our video editing. So there is a way, I believe, that you can have the two NASs, one on her end and one on our end, that mirror each other. We haven't quite got it set up yet, but that's the goal. And so I'm pretty psyched about that. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's limitless. There's so many things, and I'm really trying not to make it sound like you got to be this IT person to understand and grasp it, because so Andrew dropped just really quick in the chat. Go click on that link so it opens up into your browser, and then you can go watch this guy's videos later. Space Rex Will. He helped us so much when we were setting up, and we already had a NAS drive set up poorly, and we watched his videos and found some really great resources where he said, here's how to optimize it, here's how to make it better. And so definitely go check that out. So yeah, and it's really cool because my NAS drive, to kind of answer Andrew's question, or Andrew's question earlier, hardwired cable to your computer or Wi-Fi based. Our NAS drive is essentially, it's linked into my network, so it's not connected to my computer at all. My computer, if I'm in my studio and I connect to my Wi-Fi, or maybe I connect Ethernet right into my MacBook, I can connect to my NAS drive immediately. And like Jody mentioned earlier, you can access it, virtually, from a distance. If I'm at home and I just need to grab a photo or something, you can access it like Google Drive, like Dropbox. There's limited functionality with it. Great conversation though. Because
I know you can go into a whole BizBytes about NASs. So we should.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if anyone's in here that's not already on like the One Collective's email list for BizBytes, please join. Like, do we have a place to send them? I'm sorry. This
Yeah.
is,
We
Yeah.
can you drop that in the chat?
I will.
Because if you guys, these are free talks, and if any of you are in here because I sent out the email to you, like I'm really glad you're here. Like it's a fun conversation. This is how we grow as photographers. There's a lot of really fun creative things we can do, but this stuff is so important. The business side of things is so important, if we want to be successful and keep doing what we love and stick around past the next version of iPhone camera.
Yep.
So I love
Yep.
it.
Thank you, Isaac, for sharing
Yeah.
your knowledge today. It was like awesome. So
Yeah, absolutely. And just to again recap, if anyone wants this slide deck, just email or DM me. I'm happy to send you all the PDF. And if you want to keep connecting and talking about this topic, hit me up and we can talk more. Because I love this stuff. This is where early on in my business I realized I could keep focusing on building my creative side, and kind of keep my efforts just there, or I can focus on the business side. I can keep doing creative, but I'm going to focus on the business side. And that's where I've made tons of mistakes. I've learned a lot of things. I've met some great people that have helped develop. And it's been really cool. It's been really cool because this is the stuff that helps us stick around for the long haul. So,
Yep.
Good stuff.
Cool. Awesome. Well, our next Biz Bites will be, it's always the second Friday of the month. So same time. So if anybody, same link actually. So you can just jump back in.
Add it to the calendar.
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. Well,
Cool.
thank you everyone for coming. I appreciate all of you. This has been fun. Hope everyone has a great weekend. And let's get those folders organized.
Have a good
Sounds
day,
good.
everybody.
Bye.
All right, guys. See ya.